Hi, I'm Bianca Denham, Head of Recognition and Performance for the Ray White Group. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Julie Gauci from Ray White Culburra Beach, coming out of a beautiful coastal community south of Sydney. And Julie's going to share with us how she's forged her career, starting on reception, moving through to 12 years as a property manager, and all of that she took into a really successful career in Ray White as a salesperson, selling over 1.7 million in GCI out of a small coastal community. An amazing story. Thanks for joining me, Julie Gauci.
Thank you for having me, Bianca.
Could we just start today for the viewers at home? Just talk about your marketplace. Where's Culburra Beach?
So I work out of Culburra Beach, which is a small coastal village about 2.5 hours south of Sydney.
Okay.
So I service Culburra Beach, Killala Bay and Currarong, as well as Greenwell Point, sort of, but they're basically all sort of little coastal peninsulas.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what's the typical house sell for in those areas?
Well, it's very varied. So I think the cheapest house I sold this year was 600,000 and the most expensive 4.5 million.
Wow. Yeah. And in the last couple of years, you've seen that massive boom.
Yep.
People retreating from the cities and coming to the coast.
Absolutely.
So it's been a crazy couple of years for you.
It's been ridiculously crazy. We had 50% price growth in a 12-month period.
Wow.
Yeah, well, 49%.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So, Julie, I just want to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
The start of your real estate career. Now, you're one of those lucky people who has worked in real estate your whole life.
Yes.
So how did that start for you?
Well, I was working at McDonald's and I was sick of flipping burgers and working in a dirty environment. I decided I wanted to work in an office. And I just applied for jobs at all of the offices and I got my first job at Ray White Nara when I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what was that first role you took on?
Reception.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there?
I moved into property management and been in property management for about 12 years throughout my entire career. Moved around to a few different offices. I've also worked in the sales administration side of things and then moved into being a personal assistant to an agent, and then that's sort of how I fell into being a sales agent myself.
So 12 years in property management, at that point in your career, did you think sales was going to be the path for you?
No, I didn't. And in fact, there was a period there right before I moved into the sales assistant role, I was actually looking at getting out. I was actually studying to be a primary school teacher. I thought that might be a good answer because, you know, good hours. The kids were a bit younger then and I thought that would, you know, work well for the family. And then my boss at the time, who's now my business partner, said, look, don't do that. Just move across, come and be my assistant and see how that goes. And then, yeah.
And so what was it when you were a property manager and you thought, sales isn't for me? What was it that you thought you didn't like the look of?
Well, sort of up until then, I just felt sales was all a bit kind of, I don't want to say a rude word at all, but kind of wanky.
You said rude.
Yeah. You know, and I just thought that wasn't me. Being a property manager, everything's, you're so straightforward. You know, everything's transparent. You know, there's no kind of fluff with property management. And I felt that the sales side of it, to me, just seemed to be a lot of fluff, nothing of real substance. Right. But I hadn't been exposed to kind of probably seeing like good sales agents, you know?
Right. Yeah. And so what did you take, because, you know, property managers are very processed, very structured, organised. You took those things into your sales career? Well,
I did eventually. It was kind of hard at first because it was different and those things kind of didn't exist. So when I first moved across, I thought, oh, I'm not going to, you know, I won't make it. This, you know, won't happen for me. So I did have to build a lot of that and put a lot of that in place, which really just came out of doing training.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you started your career in sales as a sales assistant to the principal of the business at the time.
Right. Yeah.
And when did you then step out and become an agent yourself?
Well, when people started calling me and saying, Julie, we want you to list our house. So, and because I've been in the community, I think so one of the benefits of being in property management and working in the community that I live, you know, I already had relationships with all the landlords. Yeah. So they were actually the first people that I prospected, and I actually sold a bunch of properties out of the rent roll, whether or not that was a good thing. But, you know, they you know, would list when they didn't even know they actually wanted to sell. I could get at auction, I could get my fee, I could get VPA because they trusted me. They didn't question me. So it was a really good introduction to sort of have that sort of clients already.
So you had a 12-year head start. You've been building your database effectively for 12 years.
Correct.
And you already had the trust.
Exactly.
Which is amazing. So obviously you sort of developed your career. How long have you been working in the sales side of the business now?
Well, I think I've been in my 7th year now.
7th year.
In sales.
And your career has consistently grown.
It has.
It's phenomenal. $1.7 million, or a bit over that, you did last year, and 75 odd
deals
transactions.
thereabouts,
In a regional marketplace, small towns, small communities, a lot of regional agents aren't able to achieve that. What do you think clicked for you?
Well, doing auctions.
Okay.
So I was in an area where no one did auctions. And, you know, at the time, my biggest competitor was an older guy who, he actually gave me my first job back when I was 19. And, you know, he'd been doing it for as long as I'd been alive, and he would tell people auctions don't work in Culburra. However, I came in and I did auctions and have ever since. So I would attribute a lot of the fact that, you know, I built that market share was through doing auctions.
And your market share, what do you hold?
Usually sits somewhere between, usually around 40%.
Wow.
Sometimes goes up, sometimes a little under.
Wow, that's amazing. And so how do you do that? Because the tide against auctions, particularly in regional marketplace, is really strong.
But that's what benefited me because I could just prove that incorrect. So then that showed that I was the best agent and the better agent because, like, for people to say, oh, they don't work in my area, no one does them in my area, if I sit down and try and push auction to my clients, they won't do it. That's all completely false because, like, I had that. I had people sitting there saying, oh, no, auctions don't work. We've been told they don't work by the other agent. And so you can prove them wrong by showing them that it does work. And I think for me, it was also just having that passion about it that people are like, wow, she really believes in it. She's so passionate about that. She's got more energy than any other agent because she's so passionate about doing this. So that's why people, I think, listed with me.
And often when you are changing a marketplace, as you have, no auctions, you actually have to bring the buyers along on that journey as well. So what was the work you had to do with the buyers to get them ready?
Well, that never changes because they always say, we're not coming to auction. But I always see them there. So it's all in your mind sometimes, you know. It's a process and it's tried and tested and it 100% works. So you just have to let go of all the stories like that, for example. And, you know, a lot of our buyers that we work with are Sydney-based. So they're used to auctions. And, you know, if you're dealing with local buyers who aren't, you just have to take the time to talk them through the process and help them understand it's actually a great way to buy a property. It's open, it's transparent. They're not going to get into a behind closed door multi-office situation where they miss out thinking that perhaps they could have paid, you know, another 10. All of that's taken away from them at the auction. They know they've got every opportunity to give it their best and walk away with the property. And
I'm sure you would have found during this boom market that we've come out of, auction was a great way to manage that volume of buyer interest.
Yeah, well, it was kind of cool during that period because we could just stand at the open house and hand out the brochures and say, see you at the auction, good luck. But that's not a normal market.
And what have you changed? Things have changed?
Certainly.
What are you doing differently now?
Well, we're not really doing a great lot differently because the process doesn't change. And that's why what's interesting as well in my area, my average days on market constantly sits somewhere between, say, 30 and 40. So if we're not clearing everything, they'll go a little bit over. Whereas my competitors, when the market's absolutely booming, their average days on market was like 7 or 10 because they was just selling them too quickly and obviously for not enough money. So,
So their average days on market are 7 or 10. So how you say they're selling them too quickly or not for enough money? Go further.
Okay, well, they'll put it on the market for an asking price, get the asking price wrong. They would have multiple people making offers. They'd sell it for a little bit above asking price, but within a couple of days of it hitting the market, whereas they didn't put the buyers in a room and have competition, and we're competition creators, right? So, yeah, that's why the process itself hasn't actually changed for us. It's just get bidders, get them there. And then the auction itself will take care of the process, whether the owners decide to meet the market and sell or not, because obviously that's a bit of an issue now because we're often falling very short of owner expectations. But for us, we've done our job if we've brought the market to that client who's
And they
looking
can make
to
a decision.
sell.
So you said about that extreme end of very short days on market. I imagine in your communities, as the pendulum swings the other way, days on market blow out massively.
It's now, for the area, close to 200.
200 days?
Yeah.
And so you are sitting in 30 to 40 days. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, if you list with me, I can give you certainty of having an outcome within a period of time.
Yeah, that's right. Not
amazing.
I can't promise them a price. I can't promise them that, but I can promise them that, we can show them the market.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that honesty and integrity piece, when you're transacting in a small community, you live in the community, you see these people every day.
Correct.
You've got to be able to hold your head up.
Yep, definitely. No, that's very important. Because if we overpromise and underdeliver, we'll get bad reviews and no referrals.
You made a comment to me that you still see yourself as a property manager.
Well, that sort of never leaves you. It doesn't. So, whenever we're at conferences and things like that, I see all the property management side of things, I always sort of get excited to hang out with them a bit and just, it's still a part of the business that I hold dear to my heart a little bit. Like, I'm thankful for it and what it gave me, because it really was that's propelled me to be where I am today. If I didn't have come through that property management side of the business, I wouldn't be what I am today.
Wow.
Absolutely.
People listening at home wanting to take, a tidbit. Let's say I'm new in my career, I'm starting out. What's the one or two things that you think people should focus on right now?
What's in front of you? Like, I always had some far out kind of dream that I'd be, successful and a leader and, making money. But I didn't. I see a lot of people come into the industry and they just want it to happen like that. There's a lot of time and hard work, but you've got to do the time. And you need to get all the experience under your belt. We've had people come and go because it didn't happen for them straight away or within the first couple of years. So
it's embrace where you are right now.
And do really well at what you're doing. So if that is you're the receptionist, which is where I started, and because as the receptionist, you sit there all day answering the phone, and that's sales. So, master that. If you're in property management, build deep and meaningful relationships with your landlords, because that's sales.
Great advice. Okay, fun fact, Julie, what is something that we don't know about you?
Okay, something that you don't know about me, I was struggling with this, but I've decided what it would be is that I love techno music.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
in the rave cave.
Rave cave, 100%. Absolutely love it.
All the whistles.
Yep.
Did you have a dummy?
The lollipop, all of that. So I'll often really just crank that in my car to and from appointments. So as soon as I pull up to the house, I have to just turn it down because I've got the bass pumping in the car. So
Fantastic, Julie. It's been so great to talk to you. Thank you for sharing all your insights, and we look forward to seeing what's next for you.
Yep, no worries at all.
Thanks, Julie.
Cool.